Hello everyone, my name is Illyrio and welcome to the second video on the Chronos server. Today we will be working on the lazy raid farm. This is a big project that has been started long before I joined the server, but there is still a lot of work to do. Like in the last video, most of this project has been recorded 3 months ago, but have been finished just recently. And just before we start, I want to thank all of you for the support on the last video. It was pretty much amazing. For reference, the lazy raid farm is at 5000 blocks from the nether hub, and again the piston bolt is not done yet, so we'll have to use the elytra. So I arrived at the nether side of the lazy raid farm, but first I want to show you the overworld side. And this is how it looks like on the overworld side. And this part is actually already done. So we have a floor pattern and another pattern on the walls, and also the farm in the middle, which is not rendered yet. This perimeter is actually 1000 by 1000 blocks, as you can see on the map. So it's kind of hard to see everything in survival, so I will show you some shot of it using the replay mod. You may recognize this farm. This is the first version of the lazy raid farm, and yeah, this is a bit outdated now, but we still want to finish the project, so that's why we're working on this now. And there is already a video explaining how this farm works on YouTube, so I will link it in the description. But basically this is really fast, really annoying to build, and you don't want to build this. Now let's talk about the decoration. So first the floor. This pattern here was designed by Bohm, and it's 64 by 64 blocks. And this was entirely made by a machine. So we used the 4-game tick encoded floor placer by Floppy to build the floor for this entire perimeter. The construction of the walls was also automated. As you can see, we have a sort of gradient here between different colors, and this was made using a machine. And the machine is on this side here. I decided to go in creative to explain you how this machine works, because it's not really complicated. So for this example, we will make a gradient between red to orange and then to yellow. The machine uses 15 different shulker boxes with 15 different signal strengths. And we are shuffling those shulker boxes in this system here. Every time we dispense a box, we read the signal strengths, and then depending on the signal strengths, we will choose which blocks to place. In the beginning, we will have a signal strength of 15 on the side, which means that no matter how full the box is, it will always output 0, which means that this will always output 1. So when this is 1, we will choose the red concrete. And then after some time, we will decrease the signal strength here to 14, which means it will still be 0 here for the boxes between 1 and 14, but for a box that have a signal strength of 15, it will output 1, because 15 minus 14 is 1, which means here we'll output 0, and then it will select the orange. So there is a 1 in 15 chance that it will select the orange concrete. Then after some time it will decrease to 13. So now it will output 2 for a signal strength of 15, but this will still be 0. And it will also be 0 for a signal strength of 14. So now there is 2 in 15 chance that it will select the orange concrete. Then the signal strength on the side will continue to decrease. Around 8 it will be half red and half orange. And it will decrease to 1 when there will be almost no red concrete, and then it will go back up to 15. And at 15 we'll only have the orange concrete, and then it will start doing the same thing with the yellow. So it will always do a gradient between 2 colors, and we will never have the 3 colors at the same time. So this is basically how the machine works. The rest is pretty much a counter, so you can choose after how long you want the signal strength here to decrease to change the color, and also some precise timings. If I go back on the SMP, here we have the thing to shuffle the boxes, We then read the contents and we have the signal strings on the side. Then it's linked to a red coder with the storage and all the different colors. And on this side we have two counters, one for the height of the walls and another one to determine when we want to start the gradient and when we want to change the signal strings on the side here. And the rest is pretty much all the logics. And we also need to make sure the system is 6 GameTick compatible. This way it doesn't take too long to run. And by the way, the first prototype of this machine was made by Arnott, and then Hamter, Nurse and Divided made the final one. I'm back on the Nether because that's where we need to make some progress. We already have a perimeter, which is around 600 by 800 blocks. And now we're trying to break some bedrock. And we are actually at the last layer here. So this is the 4th layer, which is close to be finished. And now we need to start the last one. And as you can see, we are not using the lossless breaker here, because this project was started 8 months ago, and at this point the lossless breaker was not done yet. But I think at this time only the first layer was broken, and we started to break the other one just last week. Now I will build this Piston Placer, so it's a good opportunity for some time lapses. Okay, so the Piston Placer has been built and it's currently running, and we also built some bedrock breakers. We currently have 2 running, this one and this one, and I just built a 3rd one which I will launch right now. So I just have to remove this redstone block. And now it's running. So as you can see, it removes all the bedrock that's in the way. And at this rate we are breaking 1 layer every 2 days approximately. And for that we are using 2 different piston placers. We have one here, and we also built one in the middle, which is close to the end right now. And we are using in total 6 bedrock breakers per layer. So we have one station to unload the piston here. So above the station we have a simple 2x unloader here, which unload a piston every 4 GameTick. Then we patch the pistons, and then we dispense them on the ice line correctly aligned. And then here we have some modules to push the pistons every few blocks. You can see it in action here. And we also have other features. Here we have a system to detect when the placer arrived, so it can stop the clock and we don't lose any pistons. And we are using the same ice line for every layers. So we just have to change the station of the placer here, and this way we don't have to rebuild it every time. And we have the exact same station in the middle of the perimeter, just right here. And we can check the progress on the map. It's really close to being done right now. Should be done, I think, tomorrow night. And then we can start decorating this perimeter. So it's been 3 days since the last clip, and the roof has been removed entirely now. So now we can start on decorating the floor of this perimeter. And for that we'll use an encoded floor placer, so the same machine that we use for the overworld side. And we also want to make a pattern that is really similar to the one on the overworld. And I was not able to play the last 2 days, but the other members already built this machine, so we can check it out. It's on the other side of this perimeter. So the machine consists of different parts. we have a floor placer on this side, and this is also part of the floor placer, I think, and we have the encoded part. So this here is the encoded part. So we stored the pattern that we want to make in those shulker boxes, and each colored shulker has a different signal strength and represent a different block in the pattern. And that's what we use to make sure the blocks are placed in the correct order to create the pattern that we want. Here we have the storage for all the different items, and we can use at max 15 different items. And then on this side the player is placing all the blocks, so we can check. As you can see, it's really nice to watch all the different blocks, and then it moves on this part, and here we have the floor placer. So it was just started a few minutes ago, so I think it's working correctly, but we'll have to wait for a few layers to make sure the pattern looks correct. Right now it's kind of hard to tell. And if you want to know more about this system, I will link the video by Floppy in the description, where he explains everything to know about this. So I think now it's time for a time-lapse. I have my second account loaded, so let's see how this looks. And we are back with the floor completely built. And I've got to say, this looks really nice. I really love this pattern, especially the colors. And we have actually 2 layers of pattern and a third one if we count the glass to spawn-proof it. So this is why it looks really great. We can have a lot more details if we have 2 layers. And now the next part of the decoration is to build the walls. And we will use the same machine that we used on the overall side to make gradient. And since you already know how this machine works, I guess let's just see it in action. Now that the farm is fully decorated, the last thing to do is to bring a skeleton. We need the arrow of a skeleton to ignite the TNT, which will then kill the raiders. And we use skeleton arrows instead of the players, so this way we don't get the player drops, like the crossbow and axes. And we only get the important drops, like the redstone dots for example. And it also means that we don't get any emeralds, but we don't really care about that. To get a skeleton, I found a skeleton spawner close to the farm. This way I don't have to turn off the mob switch. From there it was pretty easy to transport it, using a bubble column and rails. So first I have to catch it. Then I need to make a big rail line from the spawner to the farm, in the overworld and in the nether. And then I just need to transport it inside the nether portal, and then to the farm. Now that the skeleton is in place, I just needed to shoot an arrow, then align the arrow by pushing it down, and now I can call this project done. Well, almost. You see, there was a TNT that was not supposed to be there, so when I pushed the arrow down, it ignited the TNT and exploded the farm. So we loaded a backup and did it again. And this time I got help by Bread to make sure I didn't blow up the farm again. With the arrow in place, we just need to give a looting sword to the skeleton so we can get the looting effect when we kill the raiders. Since the beginning of the video, the other members have been grinding the piston bolts and now they are all done. Which means we can take the piston bolts to go from the nether hub to the lazy raid farm, and it takes around 4.5 minutes. It's pretty useful, but at the same time it's pretty much the last time we will come here, except for the tour. Because, as I said in the beginning of the video, we have better farms now, like the ultimate raid farm, which is less laggy and faster, but we still wanted to finish this project, which is what we have done. Overall, I really like how the decoration of the nether side turned out, especially considering it has been completely automated, the walls and the floor. And I forgot to say that in the last video with the blaze farm perimeter, but we filled the gap between the decoration and the normal terrain with bedrock, so it looks better. And speaking of tour, we'll be doing the 117 tour on the 17th of December. So if you want to see it live, Joe will be streaming the tour. I will leave his Twitch channel in the description, and I will also make multiple videos about the tour, the first one releasing next week. So that will be all for this video, I hope you liked it, and I will see you later for another one. Bye!